D&D Pathfinder. All right, here's what we're going to cover today. Races, classes, skills, feats, magic, combat, magic items, and character creation and leveling up. We may not cover character creation fully, but we'll at least start it, and then I can meet with everybody individually or in the next time we play. Which, quick note, the next time we play would be 2 weeks from now. And I may not be able to play, or it may be a very short session because I will probably have to go to Memphis that week for work again, and maybe leaving on that Sunday, but I don't know yet for sure. So just a heads up on that.
Damn work always interfering with the fun stuff.
I know, this fucking project, I just wish it would die.
When you back and forth from Memphis, then the Memphis crew should hire you, like I've been saying.
There's only one person in Memphis that I work with as the project manager, but I did get the position with our life cycle performances services group, which will mean more travel for me. So this may become an issue for my role playing. But all right, so races. So the races that I will allow in this campaign are any core race, which there is. I will also upload this presentation to the Drive folder as well once we're done. I may add information as we go along to clarify if anybody has any questions. But the races that will be allowed in here are these core races: half-elf, dwarf, elf, gnome, half-orc, halfling, and human. So these core races aren't too different from their D&D counterparts as far as looks and abilities. There are racial traits that each race has, and there are alternate racial traits that are other racial traits that you could possibly select if they fit into your character and story that will replace a base racial trait. So, for example, elves have a standard racial trait of elven immunity, keen senses, elven magic, weapon familiarity, and low light vision. But maybe you're making an elf that's an arcane caster, and you want to take the racial trait of arcane focus. And arcane focus would replace the racial trait of weapon familiarity. And each race also has favored classes. This just means that if your character selects a favored class as their class, they'll get a bonus or ability that is listed. So, let's take a look at that really quick. Oh, shut up, phone. Alright, so we have this. You guys cannot see my screen. Okay, I'm just going to trust that my Streamlabs is capturing that window, and we're going to go with it. So we're going to stop sharing this one. And share this one. Alright, can y'all see my screen?
Sorry, yeah, it was muted. Yes, we can.
There's Game Master, basic ability scores. Yes.
Yes. Alright, so core races. These are the races allowed in this campaign. And, so like I said, if you're an elf, they give you the information here about that race, alignments, religions, starting ages, heights, and down here on your abilities and racial traits, these are your racial traits. But if you pick an alternate racial trait, it will tell you what it replaces. So you would no longer have weapon familiarity on your character sheet. It would be replaced by arcane focus.
Okay.
And it gives you a different set of bonuses. You get a +2 racial bonus on concentration checks made to cast arcane spells defensively. So casting defensively is something that you can do in combat to prevent attacks of opportunity and to give a bonus to your concentration checks if you get attacked while, or something happens to disrupt you while you're casting that spell. Don't pick anything that has these race points next to them. This is something that didn't work as well once Pathfinder began expanding their system and just work. So don't do any of those. It was so that if you made your own class or used a special hybrid class to kind of rank how that race or class fit in with the other races and classes. So these are the races available. Any questions on races?
Not really. Oh yeah, you said that they have preferred classes. Like
Yes,
could you explain more about that?
I can. So down here we see there's a favored class options. So the following favored class options are available to all characters of this race who have the listed favored class. So, if I'm an elf and I decide that I want to be a sorcerer, since it is a favored class, you get this ability.
That's
Select
cool.
one bloodline power at first level that is normally usable a number of times per day. So if you are if you were wanting to be a ranger, you were saying, George, if you were an elven ranger, then you would get this as well. But it doesn't stack with critical focus.
Okay, that's really cool. Yeah. So that gives I mean, it does go kind of against crazy builds. Like Zonath would probably not work really well in Pathfinder. I doubt gnome barbarians are a favored race, but it's still cool to elves are naturally better with bows and stuff, so they gain. Yeah, I get it. It's cool. I like that.
Yeah. So if we had a gnome here and you wanted to be a barbarian, you would add a half. Add plus half bonus to the barbarian strap sense.
Oh, that is okay. So it's that's pretty cool. Okay.
Are the sorry, if I understood correctly, basically, is it so that you can choose to take this one, or are there also the options of taking is it extra hit point and extra skill point, or extra hit point or an extra skill point, or this one? Is that also available for us?
Yes. That is also available.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember because it's been a while. So you can either pick. So you can either pick your your favored class option, or you can get, I believe. Oh, how many? I'll have to look that up again because I can't remember exactly. But you can either get an extra skill point, one or two. I can't remember exactly how many, or extra hit points.
I think it's one extra hit point per level, or one extra skill point per level. But like I said, I haven't played much, so
yeah, I can't remember right offhand. I'll have to look that up again because I can't remember exactly. I'll ask Doug or ask Alyssa to refresh my memory on that. Yeah.
Do you have any class restrictions?
Yes, I do. We're going to get to that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on races? I'll make sure to check on hit point.
Yeah, I was considering a possibility of a catfolk person, but
no catfolk.
Yeah, so that's I'll have to rethink my plan.
Doesn't fit into the campaign.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering. Yeah, actually, this might be a good time. I asked last time. This is a bit of an urban campaign, right?
Yes, this is going to be set inside the city of Korsova.
Just so you know, I mean, if you're planning to make a ranger, not necessarily that bad, but may not be a lot of walking outdoors.
Right. I mean,
There are
I
probably
don't.
some, but I mean,
They do call cities concrete jungles. Like, no, what? Who's to say an urban ranger can't exist?
your
You
favorite
know,
terrain is concrete jungle.
so if we look at, so let's move on to classes then, and we can let me. Are you still looking at the system reference document?
System reference document.
That's the online that web page I was just
Yep.
showing.
Yep.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
let me switch back to this. All right. So classes. All right, classes in Pathfinder are very expansive and some can become very complicated. So the classes that will be allowed in this campaign are any core class, which are linked to here, and I'll show them here in a second. These are the 5 base classes that I will allow: Alchemist, Magus, Oracle, Summoner, or Witch. And any Unchained classes, which are basically just redone, I think Barbarian, Monk, Thief, and I want to say Sorcerer. So here are the core classes. There are 11. Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, and Wizard. These base classes are new classes that were added to Pathfinder that have new themes and abilities. Yeah, and here I just tell you that I don't think all of the base classes would work well in this campaign, so these are the ones that I will allow. Actually, we're going to scrap Summoner. Boop, boop. No Summoner. Unchained classes. Boop. Barbarian, Monk, and Rogue. So, let's pop back over to the system reference document, which is what this webpage is. Let me share my screen again. Alright, so classes. Here on the left hand side, you'll see here we have core classes. Can you guys see my cursor as well?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. I wasn't sure if I shared cursors or not.
Yeah.
Core.
Like a pointer.
Yeah. Got core classes. Here are the base classes, with some of them that, with the ones that will be allowed. The 4 or 5 of them, whatever it was. And then under alternate classes, oops, sorry, not alternate, Unchained. Here's the Barbarian, Monk, and Rogue. So something that is available in classes are archetypes. Archetypes are a way to specialize a class even more. So, for example, in my Iron Gods campaign that I was playing in, I was a bard, but my archetype was archaeologist. So I wasn't a musical bard.
Okay.
I was more of a ranger type character. But so if we look at the core classes here, if we take a look at the ranger, there are going to be some. So first, when you're making your character, here's the tables. We'll cover this in a little bit. Archetypes that are available are listed somewhere on here. Here are favorite class bonuses listed as well for the races. Archetypes and alternate class features. And of course, you guys can read all this to get more information. If you have any questions, you can message me. So, if we looked here, there might be something in here that would allow you to make Urban Ranger right here. Look at this.
Yeah.
So if we click on this to look at it, it has the following class features. And it will tell you what you can do at each level and what replaces things. So instead of favored terrain, it would be replaced with favored community. So the abilities, you probably can't see that tab I just opened. But if I go
So the
back,
question
We can
becomes,
actually.
so
Yeah,
instead of the question being, am I in my favorite terrain, you would have to say, so is this Little China?
I thought you were gonna say, "Is this my hood?"
right,
You came to the
and
wrong neighborhood, motherfucker.
yeah, and so at certain levels you'll gain abilities and things, and since you would be an urban ranger, possibly just for example, instead of gaining what it tells you on the ranger level ups, you would replace it with these.
Okay.
So so at level 3, the ranger would gain endurance, but instead of that, you would gain trap finding. Now,
Pretty cool.
if something isn't replaced, then you still get it. So if like at level 3 you got endurance plus something else other
Right.
than these two, then you would still get that feature or
Oh yeah.
that ability. So
This to
that's one
me
of the cool
seems
things about Pathfinder is they have archetypes. They have a ton of different classes and things which we aren't going to be using, but
Yeah.
but even
Yeah, I
with
mean,
the
the art.
archetypes, you can
Yeah, the
specialize
archetypes
even
would
more.
probably give. Archetypes would probably give a pretty good spread on the
Hmm.
basic classes. So uh, worth checking those out. See if there's
Also,
something that fits your idea better than the
right,
vanilla
yeah.
version.
Also, I'm only allowing piezo materials, no third party.
Okay.
So a lot of the information sometimes you'll see in tables, it'll list where you can find it inside books.
right.
It might be a different company's book, like, here's third party classes. We're not using any of those. So you might see these publishers listed. Those aren't allowed. Okay, so question on classes, because these are going to be pretty expansive. Once you start looking, like if you have kind of a base idea, and then when you start looking at archetypes,
Is
you,
multi-classing still a thing?
yes, you can still multi-class.
Okay.
Absolutely. Which kind of, if I were allowing these hybrid classes, would eliminate some of the multi-classing, because these are classes that combine different classes. But we're just going to stick to the core classes for now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And like for like spellcasters, is
Mm-hmm.
the like spell list and like spell points usage kind of the same, or
We're going
are
to
you
get to
gonna get
that.
in? Okay.
Yeah,
Yes. All right.
yeah. We're going to cover magic here in a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, classes. These and let me look at the Unchained here real quick. So if you wanted to be a barbarian, monk, or a rogue, I would use the Unchained versions. They've just so what the Unchained classes did is it presents 4 new takes on existing classes. They've been redesigned to improve their ease of use and power relative to other classes. So, this kind of tells you what some of those changes were for those classes, and then you would use this for your class.
Do they
Basically, they
change?
made a whole bunch of new classes, and the power growth was getting a little too high, so they had to go back to the original classes and revamp them to keep up.
Well, so there's a whole Unchained book which I have over there in my closet that added a lot of stuff and made the consolidated skills list and made some other rule changes that you could use instead of rules from the core rule book.
Do the Unchained classes have their own archetypes, or do they use the ones that the default? uses.
So we're looking here at Barbarian Unchained. I've never played an Unchained character. I haven't played much recently, but I do not think oh, it's right here. Unchained archetype. Why didn't... Oh, the Barbarian doesn't have an archetype.
Oh.
But the Monk and the Rogue do have archetypes for the Unchained version.
Okay.
So, no, you would not be able to use
The
an
default one,
archetype
yeah.
from the core class. It would have to be... So if you wanted to have a Barbarian archetype, you would have to be a regular Barbarian.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So, from Paizo. Boop. Yes, Paizo is the company name that made Pathfinder. I'm surprised at how many people, when I mention Pathfinder, they're like, "Oh, isn't that just D&D?" I'm like, no, it's a completely different system, completely different company.
It's a game where gnomes die if they're too bored. There was
where gnomes die if they're too bored. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically.
That comes up in Kingmaker.
Yeah, there's the bleach or something called.
Yes, bleaching. Yeah. Yes, gnomes. Yeah, it's gnomes are interesting critters in Pathfinder. They have to always be entertaining themselves or up to something and doing something, and engaged in life. Otherwise, they experience the bleaching. Oh, there it is. Okay, so yeah, so I mentioned archetypes here. Some features may replace the feature of the parent class. Then for some reason, I linked to the Barbarian archetype specifically, just to give an example. All right, skills. So this could get a little confusing. So we're going to be using the consolidated skill list, which decreases the list of skills from 35 to 12.
Right.
On the screen, you see the skills. What do we have here? Yes. So acrobatics, athletics, finesse, influence, nature, perception, performance, religion, society, spellcraft, stealth, and survival. And these new consolidated skills incorporate these previous skills and the abilities. So, what does untrained mean? So let me pull up a character sheet from my campaign. Yes, I just redid my Iron Gods character in your campaign, Jord. Delstria.
Yeah.
So, you'll see over here on this side, here are the skills. So this is the PDF that you guys will use to fill out, and things will automatically fill in. So the check mark box here is if it is a class skill, you will select that, and it will give you a trained mark here.
Okay.
So a skill is also considered trained if you have skill ranks in that skill. So what ranks are? Each level you'll receive skill points to spend on your skills depending on your class plus intelligence modifier. And that information will be in a sheet and the reference documents that I uploaded. It is titled, you can't see this on my screen currently, you'll be able to see it in the recording. It's under the consolidated skills document, and it will tell you also how what your base skill points are. So You cannot use a skill if you do not have any ranks in it, if it cannot be used untrained. And that is... Let me pop... There's so many... I'm just popping all over the place here with screens. So we're going to go back over here to the system reference document. Skills. Here is the skill table summary. But what I just showed you were the consolidated skills, which is what I meant to pull up here.
There's a link on this page, optional skill
Yeah.
variant tools.
I just did a search for it. Is whether it can be untrained or not. So if we need to make a religion check, if you don't have any ranks in that, your character cannot make that check. Or a spellcraft. So if you're trying to use a magic device, or you're trying to figure out what kind of spell somebody's casting, you would not be able to make that skill check unless you either have ranks in that, or have it as a class skill. So, and that'll come up during gameplay. So, let me pop back over to the character sheet. So you'll see here, for level 1 here for Delstria, her class skills were influence, perception, performance, society, and spellcraft. So some of these could have, these were from being a bard archaeologist.
Question about that. Since this is using the consolidated skills, I think the class skills usually reported are for the normal skill sets.
Correct.
So is there some way to know, like, do you have to have one of those skills to have it as a class skill, or do you have to have all of them, or is there a way to decide? For example, I think acrobatics had multiple ones under it.
Yep.
So would it be a class skill if half of them are, or?
So that is... that is listed under the consolidated skill information in the system reference document. It's in this text somewhere. But also in the consolidated skills document out in the system reference. Or out in the reference documents. Let me share that really quick. Is that what I want to share? Yes. Are you seeing a Word document?
Yep.
Yes, okay. Alright.
If you can zoom in just a little bit, it's a little bit small for me, so. Thank you.
So much homework to do. So much homework.
Yes, Pathfinder is a lot different from D&D 5e, Pathfinder First Edition. So
confused.
Once you get to the actual playing, Zumi, it's a lot like 3.5, but the character creation is a doozy.
Yeah, character creation can be, but once you pick your character and focus on learning what your character can do, it isn't too bad, because then you're not worried about all the other crap that you can't do.
Right.
So if you have, let's say, here, this document tells you what your class skills are going to be for that class.
Okay.
You can thank my Dougie Poo for all of his hard work in putting these things together. So yeah, so here bard, I was a bard, my Delstria. So these were my class skills, and I get 3 skill points per level plus my intelligence bonus. So, gonna stop sharing that. I wish I could share multiple things at once in Discord.
I feel that.
I mean, if you share the screen, then you can just swap what you're
Uh,
watching on the screen.
Yeah, I could do that. Screen.
I mean,
That's the better. I was doing that in my in Streamlabs. Let me pop over to Streamlabs real quick. Make sure it's still playing nice. Yes, it is. Okay. Make sure I am recording. Yes, I am recording. Okay, good. So, yes, we are looking at that. Now we're looking at this. All right. So I started out with 3 plus 2. So I had 5 skill points that I could spend. This is not my first level sheet, but you would put your ranks here, right? So what am I looking for? So we have a blank character sheet here. We are going to so we seem to have some things already filled out here, which oh, because we already have some things filled out here. Let me put these all at 10. This PDF is going to be editable by you guys, and as you can see, things will automatically fill in and be updated on your sheet as you change things. So, whoops, that's 20. That shouldn't be 20. 10. All right. So all these are 0. So as you build your character, these things may change. So if you have an intelligence score of, I keep putting the wrong one, a 14. We'll say maybe your dex is 14. I'm just putting numbers in. 12. Maybe you decided to remove some skills from that. So you can see over here, it changes. And if these are my class skills, then I believe it should give me a bonus here of 3. Let's see, I have 5 ranks. So when it comes to spending skill points, you cannot have more ranks in a skill than your level. So if you're level 2, you can't have 3 ranks in a skill. The highest you can have as far as ranks is 2.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
some limits to the min-maxing.
Say that bit again, please.
You cannot have more ranks in a skill than your level.
Okay,
so if you're level 2, you cannot have more than 2 ranks in a skill. So whenever you spend your skill points, you spend your skill rank points, you just put the ranks into here and it increases. The miscellaneous is if you have some ability or trait or something that increases a skill, you can stick it in here.
Like an item or something like that?
Yeah, or like a racial trait or something that gives you a bonus to a skill.
Where can we get character sheets from?
There's one in the folder will be shared.
In the
if you
reference
look at it.
documents,
Yeah.
blank
Okay.
character sheet.
Okay.
I already downloaded one for myself because I want to
Just a reference
look into
document.
what's
There
in
we
it.
go. Okay, there we go.
And you can put your character sheets in here. So I would save one for each level, and that makes it easy to, if you need to go back and check. Good lord, team. There we go.
I know Finnish names are really hard to spell.
No, I just can't type
I
when
know.
people are watching me type.
I'm just messing with you.
It's hell on my job when I'm trying to type and I'm a tech writer and people are like, oh, somebody can't spell. I'm like, shut up. Let's see, is that?
Well, you can always tell them that if they would know what they're doing, you wouldn't have to spell.
Yeah. Yeah, if only.
Yeah,
I'm the one that has to proofread everything for everybody because I'm the tech writer. All right. Got that. I guess I don't need these open anymore. Because I'm streaming. Okay. So skills. So again, if you're not in immediate danger or distracted, you can choose to take a 10 on a skill instead of rolling a 1d20 for a skill check. So if it's something that's only going to have a DC of 10, you can take a 10 on it to run the risk of not rolling like a 4. You can take a 20 if you have all the time in the world to do something. Then you can take a 20 on it, which just means, like it says here, that you're trying until you get it right.
Right.
So, and that would be on a, these would both be on a case-by-case basis. And of course, you can always read more about these. You can also aid another. You can help somebody achieve success. If you roll a 10 or higher on your check, the character you're helping gets a +2 bonus on his or her skill check.
Oh, that's pretty. That's pretty
That's
interesting.
nice.
And you need to do this before they make their roll.
Right.
And this is going to be on a case-by-case basis. So one thing that I will say while we're playing Pathfinder here, and Roll20 and stuff, I don't want any impulsive rolls of things.
Yeah.
Right? You need to wait and make sure. So don't just start clicking shit to roll shit, because you may not know what somebody's doing. Same thing when it comes to combat. And you'll see here whenever we get to combat why. I want people to roll each attack one attack at a time. So we will do your first attack if you get to a point where you have multiple attacks available. Your first attack, we're going to resolve that attack, and then the next attack, resolve that attack. And that's because of the way that we handle critical hits and critical fails.
Most of the time when I do those impulsive rolls, it's because I'm clicking to wake my mouse up, and it just happens to be hovering over the click. I
would disagree on that.
No, most of the time. I said most
because
of the time,
I've played with you.
Not every time. Sometimes I do impulsive rolls, but most of the time it's because I'm just waking my mouse up to announce that I'm doing something and accidentally clicking instead. So
again, I disagree with that because I've played with you in 3 campaigns for over a year now. It's fine. Okay, feats. I know this is a lot of info to take in.
Well,
but the good thing is you have several weeks to go over it as well, and you can ask questions. Yes, Timo?
Yeah, and it's there's a lot of overlap with the D&D, so
there is.
Yeah. I mean, you have a rough idea what this is already, so you just get now to focus on how it is different from the D&D 5e that you already know.
And that's what I'm trying to cover here is what's different. But I may miss some things, but anything that I miss may come up during the gameplay, or if you guys have a question about it. All right, so
And no offense, Zumi, you do tend to, when a match is needed, you tend to choose the flamethrower. So.
okay, so feats. We do have feats in Pathfinder, and these are abilities not tied to a race or a class that give your character more abilities. Okay, so what we're going to be doing different here is we're going to be using a feat point buy system to spend on feats from the provided spreadsheet. Okay, again, do not share these files outside of the group because Doug has been nice enough to let me use them.
Don't have to worry about that.
So whenever you get feat buy points, you're going to get 4 each time you would gain a feat. You're not going to gain that specific feat. You're going to get 4 points that you can spend to get any feat that you want. And if you want to get the feat that you would have gained, you can look it up in the spreadsheet, which I'll show you guys here in a second, and buy that feat. Sometimes the fighter, I think, gets a feat at first level, so that would be something. So some of the feats, so a lot of these feats, if you are looking up feats in the system reference document. Oh, also you don't have to spend the feats or the points each level. So if you get 4 feat points and you only want to spend 2 of them, that's fine. You have 2 feat points left to spend later. So if
you can save your feat points for something bigger later on down the line.
Right. So if there are a couple of feats that cost 3 feat points, you can buy one the first time you get a feat, and then save that extra point, and then next time you have 5 feat points to spend, you can go ahead and buy that other one for 3, and then you still have 2 left.
Oh, nice.
So,
can I actually have 2 questions about this. So before we go, let's say that I buy a feat that takes 2 points. I have 2 left. I'm saving for something else. Then few sessions later, we haven't leveled up yet, but we find a magic item, and I think, oh, that would fit me well if I take this feat that is 2 points.
Yes.
Can I take the other feat mid-level?
Yes.
Okay. Second question. If there's like some classes get a free feat at certain levels, do we get those
4
feats
points.
or do we get points?
You get the points.
Okay. Do we get 4 points then, or do we get the points that feat would cost?
You get 4 points.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Instead of gaining a single feat, you will gain 4 feat points. So here, this is again in the reference documents. This is called Revised Feat Point Buy. And there's another document here, Feat Point Buy System, that will go into more detail and also has some more information on some feats that have been removed and converted so that every character can use them. So weapon focus, powerful maneuvers, and deft maneuvers now combines these abilities here.
Oh.
Okay.
Combines improved grapple, bull rush, drag.
Yeah,
weapon focus will apply to an entire weapon group instead of a single weapon. These have changed. These are the what these now are. So there are going to there may still be limitations. If something has to be a combat feat, then it would still need to be a combat feat. So you couldn't choose a channeling feat instead of a combat feat. Okay. And you can sort these. You can search if you're like, oh, well, I have 2 points to spend. Let me see all of the feats that are 2 points. It gives you the information here. It gives you prerequisites. So a lot of these prerequisites will still need to be met whenever you are selecting a feat. And then here's the ability. So, something that I did when I was playing, I tried to kind of plan out my character, and I went through and I found some feats that I wanted. Let me pop over here. Iron Gods. This is where we kept all of our stuff. Reminder. Nope, that wasn't it. PC sheets. Here we go. So here was mine. Feats I might want. I had a list here of feats that I might want, and the information and how much they cost, what they were, and I would keep track of the feats that I wanted for my character here. We really got into this Iron Gods campaign.
So is it so that if you I think like monks and rogues get the evasion feat at some level automatically, then we would then get that specific feat, or can we change it to some extent, or with the points, or
So evasion would, whoops, sorry, I have these.
you won't have the 2-point feats now because you.
Yeah, I need to scroll back up here and turn all of them back on. So you would get 4 points to spend, and
No, but I mean, if basically like on, is it level 4 or something, monks
I don't
automatically
remember.
get evasion. So if I would take a monk and go to that level, would I get the evasion feat, or would I get some points for that? Or like some classes get certain feats at certain levels.
Right, you get the points.
You get. So do I then get 4 points?
Yes.
Okay.
You would get 4 points to spend, and you could
still take the evasion, and I
you
might
could
come out ahead.
still take evasion, yes, which why is it not? I know evasion has to be in here.
I mean, and you should also find the improved evasion also. I mean, that's also there, so it should also be there.
Maybe not. Why is that not? Because it's a feat. So it should be in here. Evasion not in there. I may have to check with Doug on that.
Yeah.
What the rolling, what we rolled on that. Because
I didn't mean to break the system as such.
No.
I'm wondering.
Because I believe at a higher level, I think I had evasion, in my evasion. I had evasion. It was a class feature. Okay, let me pop over here. We're just going to do a little check here. That may have been something that Bard. I was an archaeologist. Boop. Okay, uncanny dodge, evasion. Ah, yes. So these are not replaced.
Okay, so those that you
But-
get from there, that
Yeah. But if it says that you get to pick a feat, like you get
yeah,
bonus
like-
feat
yeah,
or
like-
gain a feat,
yeah,
then you would get
like
4
5
points.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
That makes sense.
that was my bad on explaining that incorrectly. Like rogue talents are feats. So here, gaining a rogue talent, I would gain 4 points to spend. But it has to be from the rogue talents.
Yeah.
I believe is how we did that. Because I think these are in the point buy system. We'll have to look it up though when we get there, because I did not create that, but I've used it and I can't remember exactly. But yeah, whenever you would gain a feat, when it says you get to pick a feat, you get 4 points to spend. So you may be able to get 2 feats instead of 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions on feats that I can not know the answer to?
The dome.
All right. Yeah, they're similar to feats in D&D, except that we're using a point buy system instead of having to just pick a single feat. So, all right, magic. So this might be where it differs quite a bit from D&D 5e. I haven't played a caster in 5e, so there's 2 types of casters. There are arcane casters and divine casters. Your arcane casters are bards, sorcerers, and wizards, and your divine casters are clerics and druids. Oh, I have the hiccups. And higher level paladins and rangers. Alright, a lot of text here. Divine casters have to choose which spells they will have at their disposal each day. A divine caster can select any spell from their class spell list, provided they have the ability to cast a spell of that level. But they have a limited number of spells of each level available each day based on their class level and spell casting ability. Once a prepared spell is cast, it cannot be cast again until you prepare it again, unless you've prepared multiple copies of that spell. They have to spend 1 hour in quiet meditation each day to regain their daily allotment of spells.
Oh, cool. So basically,
You cannot do it twice a day. It's once a day.
Okay. Basically, you like it's a once a day. You can use a short rest to regain all your spell slots.
No.
I would not call it that.
But that's why I said basically, like super basically.
Yeah, well,
one spell slot.
no, you get all your spell slots back.
Oh, okay.
So
basically, at sunrise, when an item would recharge, your character is in the corner meditating to recharge their spells for the day.
So how it's read in the system in the Pathfinder documentation is basically your divine caster is going to set aside an hour each day that they spend doing their meditation or their rituals to their deity, and they have to do it at the same time every day to get their spell slots back.
Okay.
We'll flip over there in a second. So to cast a spell, the ability score used for the spell casting must be... Sorry, I wrote that poorly. Yes, okay. The ability score used for... No, I wrote it fine. I just can't read today. The ability score used for their spell casting must be 10 plus the level spell. So if your ability score that is used to determine your bonus spells and things like wisdom, if you have a wisdom of 12, you can only cast up to level 2 spells until you increase your wisdom score. If you have a wisdom score of 14, you can cast level 4 spells once you are able to.
Yeah, if you have spell slots.
Right. So if you have spell slots for a level 5 spell and your wisdom score, if that's your ability score used for spellcasting, then you can't cast that level 5 spell until your wisdom score is increased. Divine casters cannot cast spells that go against their alignment or their deity's alignment. So if your alignment, if there's a spell that has an alignment associated with it, and it's perhaps evil, and you're like a lawful good, you cannot cast that spell.
Okay.
Is there alignment shifting in Pathfinder?
If you do something outside of your alignment, I can choose to change your alignment.
Okay.
But if you're like a neutral good and you decide to just murder somebody for no good reason, we're probably going to change that alignment.
Yeah.
And especially if you're a follower of a good deity.
Exactly.
Like a divine caster who,
then your deity could possibly forsake you and you lose your abilities to cast those spells.
Yeah,
What if you neutrally murder somebody for good reason? Would that still count?
Yeah, what if you murder someone for a good reason?
We're going to say this on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. Are we the bad guys?
Are we the
Probably.
guys?
So, for divine... Whoops, let me not move that around. So, for divine casters, for example, a second-level human cleric with a wisdom score of 14 can cast 4 0-level spells, 2 level 1 spells, and 1 domain spell. We'll get into that. And gets an additional first-level spell due to her ability score. Domains and their abilities are listed here. Deities can be found here. Archives of Nethys is a good resource for deities in Pathfinder. And some other things as well.
I think I'm going with Sorcerer this time.
Well, you might change your mind here in a minute.
Oh, great.
So the human cleric, this human cleric is a follower of Sarenrae and has selected the domains of good and healing. On this particular day, this cleric is going to select primarily healing and boosting spells since their party is going on an adventure. But knows with spontaneous casting, she can also replace a spell with a healing spell if needed. Casting can get a little complex. That's why I don't play casters anymore in Pathfinder, because I just don't want to deal with it. So divine caster. So continued. For the prepared 0-level spells, this cleric is going to select Detect Magic, Light, Read Magic, and Stabilize. For the 3 level 1 spells, she's going to select Cause Fear, Shield of Faith, and Sanctuary. For the domain spell, the healing domain spell of Cure Light Wounds is going to be prepared. So, if you are indecisive or are going to spend 30 minutes trying to decide what spells to prepare for each day, I would not recommend playing a Divine Caster.
Yeah.
Because we aren't going to spend half the session with you trying to decide what spells you want.
That's why I said not Divine Caster. I was thinking Cleric to begin with, but then after you mentioned that, I'm like, nope, not gonna do that.
So, we'll cover a little bit more about those here in a second. For Arcane Casters. So, Wizards are arcane spellcasters, but use spells much like Divine Casters. A wizard must choose and prepare spells ahead of time. Same thing. The wizard has to have an intelligence score equal to or higher than 10 plus the spell level. A wizard can cast a limited number of spells per day, but they can only prepare spells that are in their spell book, aka known spells. Okay, so the difference between divine casters and arcane casters is with divine, you can choose any spell in your spell list for that class. Arcane casters have to choose certain spells that they know. And then those are the spells they can select from for that day.
So if you ain't found Fireball, you ain't casting
That's
Fireball.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, sorcerers and bards do not use spell books or prepare spells. So the wizard would have to say, okay, today I'm gonna prepare magic missile and burning hands.
Right.
And these are, I have one casting of each of those, and then whatever else, right? Sorcerers and bards can select from any spell that they know in their spell list and cast them in any slot. So they don't have to say, okay, I'm going to prepare this spell and this spell. They can just say, well, I'm going to cast that spell. And then they can cast it again up to their spells per limit. They don't have to prepare, I'm going to prepare magic missile twice.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
With the slight caveat, like the bards don't cast magic missile, they cast, instead of burning hands, they cast burning crotch, but that's less a spell and more of a social disease.
It's a class ability.
It's a possibility. Yeah. More repercussion.
Sorry,
of,
Libby, I
of-
couldn't help it. Bad jokes are how I stay focused.
Or a repercussion of of bad decisions.
It's overall it's quite similar to what it is in 5e, with the only exception being that in 5e you just choose the spell for clerics and wizards. You choose the spell and you can cast that as many times as you have the slots. Here you have to
Yeah.
decide how many times you want to cast that particular spell.
Right. So let's take a look at the so for clerics I don't know if any of you want to play a cleric after learning about this.
Hey, my other character is a cleric, and I like clerics, and I can play another one too. But I mean, I'm looking for what the group has. I mean, I do have a certain fondness to dwarf clerics who go with the plate mail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll talk about spell failure here in a second. So,
Divine spells don't have spell failure.
right, divine don't have spell failures.
Yeah.
Cleric. Right. So here is the spell list for the cleric with each level. So here's why I said that if you are indecisive or will take a long time to decide, you shouldn't play a cleric, because there are a lot of spells to choose from. So unless you kind of have okay, I'm just going to do these every single day regardless, or you just kind of make a separate list for yourself of like, these are the spells that I like, that I would probably use. Oh, sorry, I got the hiccuburps.
Hiccuburps.
Yes, it was a hiccuburp. So,
Like a burp snort.
It was a burp and a hiccup.
Have you ever seen what's it called?
Probably not.
Fucking Grown Ups with Adam Sandler.
No.
Yeah.
I haven't seen many movies.
I feel that.
Okay.
Side note, we went to see the Honor Among Thieves with my friend last night.
I'm gonna go see that this week at some point.
Yep.
So yeah. Clerics, you can pick any, so they're not called cantrips, they're called orisons in Pathfinder. But colloquially, you can say cantrip, and I'll know what you mean.
Yeah.
All right.
You don't have to prepare level 0 spells, I don't believe. Or do I?
You choose which
do.
ones you take, but they don't.
Yes,
They don't get consumed. So basically, you can cast
so
them
you can,
as many times as you want.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember because I haven't played a spellcaster in years. What am I? I'm looking for my cleric. There we go, cleric. So these are the spells per day, and then you also get bonuses based on whatever your ability is for a cleric. It's wisdom, and that table is here. So when we're building your character, if you're what was it, intelligence is wisdom is a 15, you would get 1 extra first level spell and 1 extra second level spell slot each day. What this plus means hereafter is you get 1 first level spell slot of whatever spell you've selected and a domain spell. So if you pick your deity, if you're a follower of Iomedae, these are your domains: glory, good, law, sun, and war. And I know I left the Pathfinder site, but so cleric domains can be found here. So if we're following Iomedae, we're going to pick our domains to be law and good. So law domain and good domain. Here's what we get from selecting the good domain. You get some extra abilities. And then our first level spell that we can cast is Protection from Evil. So we could select that as our domain spell, or we could select our law domain spell of Protection from Chaos. And you also get these abilities.
Fear, someone's at the door.
No worries. I don't know how different this is from a D&D 5e cleric because I've never played one. I've actually never played a cleric in my life.
Oh, you're missing a lot. Basically, in D&D 5e, there's just one domain, and it gives you special powers. It's sort of like the archetype or the sub class in 5e. Like everybody gets a
Maybe when I was younger I picked one, but yeah, I used to play wizards a lot in D&D. Wait for Zumi to come back. So clerics, once you're building your character, once you start building and kind of picking things here and there, it will start to limit and kind of focus in on what you want your character to do. And so then you're not looking at a bazillion things, you're looking at like 3.
Once you get your character down, you pretty much got them down to what you want every day.
Mm-hmm. All right, spell failure. Alright. If you try to cast a spell in conditions where the characteristics of a spell cannot be made to conform, the casting fails, and the spell is wasted. That spell slot is used. If your concentration is broken, the spell fails. They may also fail if you're wearing armor while casting a spell with somatic components and are an arcane caster. So just a fancy way to say if you need to move your body, your hands, and you're wearing armor and you're an arcane caster, your spell may fail. So if we look at the sorcerer, you see here, they're not proficient in any types of armor or shield. Armor interferes with a sorcerer's gestures, which can cause her spells with somatic components to fail. And there's a link here to tell you the percentage chance. That did not. Arcane spells and armor. Okay, it's in the wizard sections apparently. There we go. Armor restricts. Now, there may be feats or things that you can take to limit that. And I believe, if I remember correctly, yes, here in the armor and shields, it tells you what your arcane spell failure chance is if you are wearing that armor. So if you're a sorcerer and you're like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to wear some leather armor anyway. Well, all of your spells have a 10% chance of failing if they have a somatic component.
Ooh.
So it's best for you to just throw on your robes and be happy.
Yep.
That is why mage armor exists.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, alright, I'm sure you guys probably have questions about spellcasting. Or you might have some as you're building a character if you are a spellcaster. But any immediate questions that you might have based on your experience with casters in D&D that you want to know if something is the same or different? Oh, same thing with casting spells. As long as you have your spell component pouch, we're not going to worry about the material components unless it has a monetary value.
Right.
Yeah,
That was exactly what I was about to ask.
or if the items are consumed. I'm assuming.
I can't recall which spells do that, but I believe there are some spells which here in Magic you can see all of the spells.
I think in Pathfinder a lot of them consume it. They actually say separately if it doesn't get consumed.
It does, I believe. Let's see, Barkskin. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and mention this really quick, even though I cover it later. Bonuses of the same type do not stack.
Okay.
Unless it specifically says that it does. So here it will say the enhancement bonus provided by Barkskin stacks with the target's natural armor bonus. We're going to look at the character sheet more in depth here in a little bit because there's a lot of different things as far as different types of armor class and some other things as well. So if you have some other item that gives you a bonus to your natural armor, like a +1, this would not stack with that and give you a +3. It would replace that +1 bonus. So, same thing with like mage armor. It gives a +4 armor bonus to AC.
Actually, here I think it says in the components it's a verbal, somatic, and F is a focus. So it's not
Yes.
consumed, but you need that basically.
Right.
And if there's M, then it's consumed. I think that's how it works in Pathfinder, but I just
Yes.
noticed that it's different.
Yeah. And if it's DF, it's divine focus, which would be your whatever your divine focus is for your
Holy symbol, basically.
yes. So we can find that information here, I'm sure. Oh, you know what? Let me just I think resurrection is yeah. So material component, a diamond worth 10,000 gold pieces.
Yeah, dying is much more expensive in this
Yes.
game.
And it doesn't tell you that it's consumed, but it's a material component, so it is consumed.
Yeah, since it's not focus.
Yeah, so like mage armor gives you a +4 armor bonus to AC. That does not stack with other armor bonuses. Make sense? All right. Any questions about spellcasters? We will cover spells a little bit more further down as well. A bit more about magic. All right, combat. Here's where there's going to be probably the most difference, and where it might get the most confusing until we get in there and start doing things. So, same as in D&D, 1 round is 6 seconds. Okay. So I have a couple of different scenarios here of things that you can perform in what your 1 round. All right, you can do a full round action, which takes the place of a standard action and a move action. You can take a 5-foot step, free action, and a swift action. Okay. Or you can do a standard action and a 5-foot step or movement, a move action or a 5-foot step, a free action, a swift action, and an immediate action.
Can you take an immediate action with full round action also? If you think.
I think so. Yes. But those are very specific things, like certain spells, like Featherfall is an immediate action.
Yeah, I know.
Is disengage, dash, etc., considered
those don't exist.
Exist? That's what I was about to ask. Yeah, they exist.
There is something similar to a disengage, but it would be part of a move, or it would be a standard action.
Attack of opportunity. Then does that exist?
Yep, we'll get to it. Okay. So full round actions would be a full attack, which is something that certain classes can do. A charge, a coup de grace. Extinguishing flames would be a full round action. And lighting a torch would be a full round action. So a full round action is started on your turn and completed at the beginning of your next turn. Typically, if you're casting a spell that's a full round, it's a little bit different. But these would start on 1 round and finish the next round. come over here to Combat. I think I explained that correctly. Actions in Combat, action types. So again, with this system reference document, everything that you need to know is in here or in our Google Drive. So, a full round action consumes all your effort during a round. The only movement you can take during a full round action is a 5-foot step before, during, or after the action. You can also perform free actions and swift actions. Although some do not allow you to take a 5-foot step, some can be taken as a standard action if it's a certain situation. And there are only a few combat options that are full round actions, such as the extra attack from the haste spell. These options can't be combined with attack actions or other standard actions. Alright, standard actions. Here are some examples of standard actions. Now again, there is a whole list here of other and whether they provoke attacks of opportunity. So attacking is a standard action. Activating a magic item. Aiding another is a standard action. Casting a spell. Maintaining an active spell. Drinking a potion is a standard action. Readying an action is a standard action and will also drop you in the initiative.
Okay.
So if you're second in line, let's say, and you're like, I'm gonna ready an attack until that goblin gets next to me. When that goblin gets next to you, your initiative would move down to there and you would take your action. And that's where your initiative will remain. You can use a spell-like ability, a supernatural ability. You can light a torch with a tinder twig. You can stand up from prone. That might be important. Or you can take total defense as a standard action. And again, a lot of these are listed here. Move actions. Again, there are more listed here than I have here. So movement in this campaign is going to be a little bit different than we have done, probably. Moving in a straight line, each square is 5 feet. Moving diagonally, your first square is 5 feet, your second square is 10 feet, third square is 5 feet, fourth square is 10 feet. So you can move 4 squares diagonally. That also pertains to spell ranges as well, if you're moving or casting on a diagonal. You can double move in a round instead of taking a standard action. So if your movement is 30, you could take your movement of 30, and then as your standard action, you can move again and up to 30, if that's your movement. Okay. Movement cannot be interrupted by an action unless you have a feat that allows this. So you can't move 10 feet, attack, and then move 20 more feet. That 10 feet is your movement.
Okay.
Some things that are a move action are drawing a weapon is a move action. Loading a crossbow or light crossbow is a move action. Picking up an item is a move action. Sheathing a weapon, or retrieving a stored item. So if you want to... So there are some feats that do make some of these a swift action, like quick draw would turn some of these into a swift action. So, for example, if you wanted to take something out of your pack, like a potion of Cure Light Wounds, your move action would be retrieving that item, and then your standard action would be actually drinking it. And that would provoke an attack of opportunity if you are standing or if you are in a threatened square. Any questions on standard actions or move actions?
None that immediately come to mind.
Probably come up more during actual gameplay.
Right, I was going to say.
Okay. Free actions.
Let
Yes.
me just mention, I think that in Roll20 you can set up the map so that it counts the distances based on this formula. I think you can set it up there somehow.
Okay.
I don't remember where you get it, so
Yeah,
it'd be easier to use in the game.
Yeah, I don't remember. So some free actions. Speaking of short sentence, you can't have a whole conversation as a free action. But you could be like, hey, bad guy over there, or something. You can drop an item as a free action, or you can drop to the floor, like just drop prone. So dropping an item. So if you have like 2 weapons, and you're like, crap, I don't want to use this dagger anymore, I want to use my longsword.
Right.
You could drop your dagger, draw your longsword as your move, and then you still have your standard action that you could use to attack. And possibly have provoked an attack of opportunity by retrieving that item. Retrieving an item provokes an attack of opportunity.
Drawing a weapon doesn't. It's
Sorry, drawing weapon. Sorry, my bad. That would not.
I guess
if
retrieving
you were
is more like from the backpack or somewhere.
Yeah,
like...
if you sheathing a weapon does though.
So somebody takes up a weapon, you don't hit them, they put it away. Yeah, now you hit them.
Yes. Retrieving an item, fair. Yeah. So if you're pulling a potion out of your bag, you're going to provoke an attack of opportunity. Trying to load your crossbow in a threatened square is going to provoke. Picking up an item is going to provoke.
Jeez.
There's a lot more stuff that you don't want to do when you're next to enemy.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at where? Oh, it's down there. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and look at attacks of opportunity. Moving out of a threatened square, unless it is a 5-foot step, provokes an attack of opportunity. Performing certain actions within a threatened square provokes an attack of opportunity. So
and you have to use one of your actions to do the 5-foot step, right?
No, 5-foot step is something that can be done
if you don't move
in place of movement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So okay.
So you can do a standard action, a 5-foot step, a free action, swift action, and immediate action in one round.
Okay.
Or you can move and do a standard action and then free, swift, and immediate. So so swift actions will tell you on the action or in your character description, skills, feats, whatever, whether something is a swift action or not. Quickened spells are usually swift actions.
So the 5-foot step can kind of be used in place of like disengage to move away from an opponent, and that won't provoke an attack of opportunity if you use the 5-foot step.
Correct.
That at least that's what I thought.
That is correct. Yes. Okay. 5-foot steps do not provoke. So here is an example of attacks of opportunity. So we have a fighter and a sorcerer fighting an ogre and a goblin.
Right.
So if the fighter approaches in path number 1, it does not pass through it does not pass through a square threatened by the ogre, who has 10-foot reach, right? So the ogre is going to threaten this square and this square. But if he moves this way, he's not going to be threatened by the ogre.
Gotcha.
If the fighter approaches this direction, he's going to hit this square, and then if he moves again, he's going to be passing through a square that is threatened by both creatures.
Gotcha.
Since the goblin threatens the 5-foot square around him, and the ogre threatens 10, based on the reach of that creature. Number 3, the sorcerer, moving this direction using the withdraw action, which would be the disengage, basically, withdraw for a standard action, moves to this square, can get away from the goblin and the ogre. But once the sorcerer moves again, is going to threaten, because it's leaving a square that is threatened by the ogre. So she could instead take a 5-foot step Make sense? I'm drawing a blank of our AOOs in D&D.
It's pretty. The difference here mostly for the 5e is that in 5e, if you take the disengage,
I'll be right back.
In 5e, if you take the disengage action, you don't provoke any attacks of opportunity. In Pathfinder, if you take the withdraw, which is basically the disengage, you don't provoke
for your
any
first 5
opportunity
feet.
For the first, but then after that you do. So that's why the reach weapons are more problematic and why you can't run just past everybody.
A little more dangerous, yeah.
Overall, you want to move less right next to somebody and more like further away. And
you really want to utilize that 5-foot step if you want to move around somebody that you're engaged in combat with. You want to really utilize that 5-foot step. So Jord went away. If y'all want to take a break for a few minutes here, I know this has been a lot. This has been a lot of info to chuck at you.
No, I'm fine, but but
you've been playing Pathfinder. The other people haven't.
Yeah, so I know most of this stuff already, and I have also been reading them. So, but we can take a short break if you want. That might be a good idea too.
Yeah, take a 5-minute break and be back.
Yeah, that works for me.
So, you have to be able to draw a line through the enemy to get the flanking bonus. They have to be threatening it. And it's a +2 bonus to your attack rolls. So, there's an example here.
So, and is there like a distance limitation?
No. Yes. So if you are a ranged person and you're in this square here, and this fighter doesn't exist, or here, the cleric would not get a flanking bonus.
Okay.
It's only melee, basically.
Okay. Yeah, that would honestly be pretty cool. Like, what's it called? A pretty cool ability to have to like give flanking from farther away. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you
There
have
is,
reach.
I think there's a feat perhaps that does that for like ranged. Now for
Right.
reach, for reach weapons, or for this ogre. So here the sorcerer is flanked by the goblin and the ogre because the ogre has a 10-foot reach.
Okay.
If the ogre did not have a 10-foot reach, it would not be flanking with the goblin.
Okay.
So if you have like a pole arm, which I believe is a reach weapon, then you could stand here in this square and they would be threatening the sorcerer if it was an enemy. So reach weapons I believe are the same as in D&D.
Okay.
I think we have reach weapons in D&D. I haven't.
Yep.
Yeah.
I play a
Polearms and
bard
stuff get
and a
10-foot reach,
barbarian,
yeah.
or not bard, ranger. I play a ranger and a barbarian. So
Yeah.
Well, you could use like a halberd. Halberds have 10-foot
yes,
reach.
halberds have reach.
P900 had a glaive, but he never used it.
Really?
Well, you did use it a couple times. It just you favored your short sword, and then you got the warhammer, and I don't think you've used anything else since then.
Yeah, I mean, I technically still have the Polar Master, so it's really powerful one-on-one if they don't have reach, because anytime they approach me, I get an attack of opportunity, and since I have Sentinel, if I hit, they stop there, and they can come to hit me if they don't have the reach. And then I can just basically take one step back and wait for them to come again.
Right.
But I haven't used it, really. Went with the one-handed weapon and a shield approach.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, are we ready to dive back into this joyous
I'm cool.
PowerPoint?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, armor class. So there are a couple of different types here. I have a screen cap from the character sheet. There are 3 armor classes listed on your character sheet. Your regular armor class, your touch armor class, and your flat-footed armor class. Your touch armor class is used against touch attacks, and it ignores your natural armor, your armor, and shield. But you do get your dex bonus and some of these others here, like deflect, miscellaneous, dodge, and your size. Flat-footed ignores your dexterity bonus and dodge bonus. And flat-footed, it says in the rules as written that you're flat-footed in combat until you take your action in the first round. But we don't do that. You're only flat-footed in our campaigns if you're surprised.
I think that's exactly a 3.5 rule, where anybody who hasn't acted yet this in the combat is technically flat-footed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always hated that rule, so I'm glad you did away with it.
Yeah. My friends and I play where if you're aware you're in combat, then you're not flat-footed.
Yeah.
So your touch armor class would be like if a wizard is trying to cast Burning Hands and goes to grab you, that's a touch attack. And it will tell you on different spells and things whether it's a touch attack or a melee attack. So if somebody's trying to touch you to do damage to you, then we would use your touch AC instead of your regular AC. Also, I'm going to make a note here because I just remembered it. Here, the maximum dexterity bonus. So different armor will affect your ability to have your dexterity bonus in different ways. So, if you're wearing heavier armor, the max dexterity bonus that you could get might be a +2 or something, depending. I don't have them memorized. So if we look at equipment and armors, it will tell you here what your maximum dex bonus is. Now, we do have special materials, like mithril, that some of these could be possibly made out of, that might be able to increase the maximum dex bonus by 1, and also reduce the arcane spell failure and your armor check penalty by a little bit. So so yeah, so if you have a high dexterity, you might also kind of want to check and see what your max dex bonus would be with your armor, and then your armor check penalties. So armor check penalties, the information is here. Hurts your ability to use dex and strength-based skills. An armor check penalty applies to all dex and strength-based skill checks. So that would come into play over here on if my armor check. Well, I can't enter that in there unless I put it here. My penalty will be a -2. And then that will fill in up here and in some other places. So do that when we need to. Again, bonuses of the same kind do not stack. Okay, so saving throws. We have 3 different kinds of saving throws: fortitude, reflex, and will. Fortitude is your physical fortitude, how sturdy you are physically. Reflex save is how quick you are. Will save is how mentally strong you are. So,
Oh god.
So we see here, like on Delstria's sheet, this is her level 13. Each character will have a base save for all of these, and it will be listed in your class.
Okay.
Whenever you're making your character here, here's the table for each level. When you level up, it will show you what increases. So at first level, this barbarian has a +2 to fortitudes, and 0 for reflex, and 0 for will save. So those would be what go on the sheet. At second level, the fortitude increases to +3. So you would change that to a 3. And then there are also, with your saves, the associated ability score will increase them. So Constitution increases your fortitude. Dexterity increases your reflex. Wisdom increases your will. And these are just, this is because I had an enhancement from something on here. I don't recall what right offhand, but I had something that increased my saves. I had...
Resistance would be a good guess, I'm guessing.
Huh?
Cloak of Resistance would be a good guess.
No.
To all of them.
No, that is not correct. I had something that increased it. I don't remember what. It's been almost. Oh, here we go. Trap Sense was probably what I had for one of them, and then I don't remember. It's been 2 years since I've played this character. So those are what would be used against spells or spell-like abilities that opponents may use against you. So instead of a dexterity saving throw, it's a reflex saving throw.
Concept is pretty much the same.
Right.
Instead of 6, you have 3.
Yep.
Kind of reminds me of the tri-stat system. It has on this tri-stat system. It's body, mind, and soul.
We're just going to say sure.
Well, the tri-stat.
I know what it is, but it's not really. It's not really, but there are 3 of them.
It's not the same. Same thing. When you get down to the basics, it is. But
Well, yeah, there's 3 of them. One is your body, one is your mind, but then there's also reflexes, how quick you are. That's not your soul.
that's body.
That's body. Yeah.
That's body. That's definitely body.
Yeah.
So then what's fortitude, which is basically how tough you are.
Right.
Or-
But it's your physical body.
Yeah.
That's why I said, there's 3. Yes, George?
I was just gonna say that was Pathfinder like designed around 3.5, because a lot of this stuff is very reminiscent of 3.5. Like
They're very similar. I don't recall when 3.5 came out in D&D, but Pathfinder came out in like 2000, 2001, something like that, I think.
When I was reading up on it, it said it was based on 3.5.
Yeah. The thing that first drew my attention was the drawing the shield, drawing the weapon taken in action. I remember taking your movement. I remember that being that was a rule in 3.5 that we cut because we didn't like it.
Yeah. I stopped playing D&D I think just before 3.5 came out, because my best friend introduced me to Pathfinder, and we switched to Pathfinder, and we liked it better.
I just kept on playing 3 until 4,
And like,
then
so I've been playing Pathfinder since it first came out,
Yeah.
like 23 years ago or something. All right, critical hits and failures. This is going to be different from D&D. So, a natural 20 on the die is a critical hit. You have to confirm your critical hit by having another successful attack roll.
Oh. Okay, I kind of see that. I get it a little bit.
So you roll a nat 20, yay! You roll again. If that's a miss, it's not a critical hit, it's just a regular hit. Also, if you do have multiple attacks available, you can do a critical hit on your first and your second attack. You cannot do a critical miss on your second attack, though, because it's not at your highest attack bonus, and I'll show you the bonuses here in a second. So the way the damage is going to work, you are going to roll damage twice with all of the usual bonuses, except sneak attack damage is not doubled. Special weapon qualities, such as flaming damage, are not doubled. Some weapons do have a greater critical threat range or a multiplier. So some weapons, you may see it say, whoops, I didn't want to click, it's going to open Edge, because I just clicked on that. Let me just open up the player's guide. There are a couple of weapons in here that have it. there. So here you'll see it say under the critical when it's giving weapon information in Pathfinder, it might say 19-20. That means a 19 is also a critical hit, not just a 20. For if it doesn't say anything like that, then it's just 20. But for this one, it does triple damage instead of just double. And my screen is so. A natural 1 is a critical miss. It must be confirmed by having another unsuccessful attack roll. So you roll your. You okay, Jord?
Yeah. I'm hitting my. Yeah. Sorry, if I'm breathing heavy, I'm just hitting my jewel. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Just making sure you're okay over there. A critical miss must be confirmed. So if you roll a nat 1, we're going to roll that attack again. And if you hit that time, then it's just a regular miss and not a critical miss. So, something may happen, but maybe not. We are going to use critical hit and critical fumble decks. So how that's going to work is... I need to download these. Oh wait, I think I did. Oh well. Critical hit. Oh, the chase deck. You don't want to use the chase deck. It's awful. It's so bad. So we have all these different cards, and you're going to roll a 52 sided die. And so whatever it lands on, we're going to pick that card. And depending on what kind of damage you're doing, if you're doing bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, or magic damage, then this also takes effect. So you actually may or may not do double damage. So some of these will not say double damage, but you might get something else happen. So like muscle wound, double damage, and 1d2 strength damage.
I'm guessing if you would have a weapon with 3 times multiplier, then it would be triple damage and d2. Or is this in addition to the normal critical?
No, it takes the place of it. But it
Okay.
but it would be triple if you have a triple weapon. So here, for example, on this slashing one, it does normal damage and 2d6 bleed damage, and the target cannot talk or breathe while bleeding.
Would you get any benefit from having a triple crit weapon there?
No.
Okay. Well, 2d6 bleed is pretty nasty.
Yes. And if you've done this against a spellcaster, they probably can't cast any spells.
True.
Yeah, somatic verbal components, right?
Correct. Same thing with the fumble deck. If you have a critical miss and you confirm that miss and then you roll, something could happen. So if you're doing a ranged, your shot ricochets and hits you near the eye. You're blinded for 1 round.
Oh God.
No. But here, hey, you jam a finger. Your target takes normal damage, but you take double damage. So yeah, so it could be interesting. It could be bad. Yeah, here you could possibly hit yourself if it's a natural attack. Fist meets face. The attack hits you and is a critical threat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Pokemon hurt itself in its confusion. Oh no, Sylveon is confused. It hurt itself in its confusion.
I've had we were playing this Rollmaster game, and there was a friend of ours got a scratch on the forehead from a crossbow. Well, not a scratch, a bruise on the head from the crossbow bolt, and died. Yeah. Extremely unlucky roll.
Oh, damn.
Dimension is always that. Damn.
No. I mean, somebody shot them. They didn't
Oh.
penetrate with the bolt, but they got bruised a little, and then they died to that bruise. It's a complicated system. Anyway, carry on.
Any questions about critical hits or failures?
Is there a critical failure for like skill checks, or is there something like that also, or is this only for the attacks?
Yeah, that's covered in our house rules. That I'll cover in a little bit. A natural 20 is always a success, and a 1 is always a failure.
Okay, so nothing else. Okay.
Well, wait a minute. Let me think about that for a second. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. 20 is always a success, and 1's always a failure, even for skill checks. Magic spells, you can do critical damage with some spells, but not all.
This is basically if you need an attack roll, then
Yes.
crit, or...
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Okay. Something else that is different from D&D is CMB and CMD. CMB is combat maneuver bonus. It's your skill at performing combat maneuvers. CMD is combat maneuver defense. That's your skill at resisting combat maneuvers. So some classes, like rogues, get some combat maneuvers they can perform, and they will use the combat maneuver. Was that my computer making a ding?
No, that's fine. Sorry.
Okay. Combat defense is how well you resist that. So this would also be used when it comes to grappling and trying to pin somebody. So instead of strength checks, if you're trying to grapple somebody, you would roll a CMB roll, and the person that you're trying to grapple would roll a CMD. And there are, I think there are some feats and whatnot that where you can change what the ability score is that you use for your CMB. So, any question on that?
Mm-hmm.
No. All right. All right. Concentration checks when casting spells. It's going to be D20. Your concentration check roll is going to be a D20 plus your caster level plus your ability score modifier. And this table in the system reference document, which is that website, this website that we've been looking at, does have a table that gives a concentration check DC that you have to beat while casting spells. So if you're trying to cast defensively, you have to make a concentration check, and that DC is going to be 15 plus double the spell level. If you're injured while casting, it's 10 plus the damage dealt plus the spell level. So. Vigorous motion while casting, I guess. I don't know, maybe you're on a boat that's being tossed around in the sea. Extremely violent motion. I don't know. Somebody's picked you up and is shaking you around. A giant is shaking you around.
Or you're in a carriage that's rolling down the hill.
Yeah.
After the horses.
Yes.
Got,
Something.
what's the English word? That's scared and run away.
Spooked.
Spooked. Yeah. Well, there's a special word you use for animals when they
We say
when you lose
spooked.
control.
And
Oh, okay.
I think I'm not an animal person, but I would say that's what I've always heard, spooked.
Yeah.
All right, spell ranges. So when you're looking at spells in Pathfinder, you're going to see different ranges. There's going to be touch, which of course means you have to touch whomever you're casting the spell on. Some of them will be harmless, but can still have will negates. For example, if you're trying to cast Cure Light Wounds on a teammate, they're probably not going to resist you. But if you're trying to cast Cure Light Wounds on an undead to do damage to them, they're probably going to try to resist you. Self is, of course, yourself. And then we have ranges of close, medium, and long. And those will be defined in the spell description. So something that we're going to adhere to is areas of effect. These are the shapes that will be used on the maps. So the origins of a spell or an effect will be a corner or a side, just depending, of a square. Typically it'll be where you are, but it could be a spot that you can see X number of feet away, right? So here's where we see that 30-foot line if it's diagonal. 5, 10, 5, 10. And this is where what can be affected if you're doing it on a diagonal. So here, you might want to... I'm going to put these into a Word document and put them in that folder so you can have this as a reference as well. But I'll also have this PowerPoint. So the exception to this is spells that or effects that have a burst from the caster use the entire square as the origin. So you basically get an extra 5 feet of range. Alright, any questions on spell ranges or effects?
Mm-hmm.
Alright,
So
cast.
Real light's getting in the way. I'll have to dip out, but I've caught everything up till now, and I've had like 5 minutes of some Pathfinder. So yeah, I'll just need help making the character later.
Okay, no worries. I'll put something in our chat about character creation and stuff.
But that'll help. All right, yeah. Sorry, I gotta go. Sorry.
No worries. Alright, so casting times for spells are typically going to be either one standard action, a full round action, or a swift action. There are some that could be immediate, like Featherfall, but this is going to be your typical casting time. Counterspells. Okay. To use a counterspell, you have to select an opponent as the target of the counterspell, and you have to ready an action. And then you wait to complete your action until your opponent tries to cast a spell. So we don't have reactions in Pathfinder. But you know that if you're fighting against some spellcasters, they're probably going to try to cast a spell. However, the difference being, when the target of a counterspell starts to or tries to cast a spell, you have to make a spellcraft check to see if you can identify the spell they're trying to cast in order to attempt to counter it. And then, You must cast an appropriate spell. As a general rule, a spell can only counter itself. If you are able to cast the same spell and you have it prepared, then you can cast it. I don't remember us doing that in the campaigns that I've played. I'm going to double check this.
Yeah, I think it's quite hard to counterspell something in the Pathfinder. I ran into some feat that allows you to counterspell with any spell from the same school of spells, I think, of the equal level.
I think there is.
Yeah, so there's probably some ways if you want to go that route, but then you sort of have to focus on it a bit.
Yeah, not many people.
Much more effective to just ready an attack spell and cast that the moment they start casting.
They try to attack.
Disrupt them.
Not many people try to use Counterspell, in my experience, in Pathfinder for this reason, because you have to make a pretty high spellcraft check to figure out what they're casting, and then you have to be able to cast that spell as well.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
So, now, Dispel Magic can be used to counter a spell being cast without needing to identify it in some situations. And that is listed in, I believe, the Dispel Magic.
Handy.
Yeah, Dispel Magic can dispel but not counter spell-like effects. The effects of an instantaneous spell cannot be dispelled. Okay. When Dispel Magic is used in this way, the spell targets a spellcaster and is cast as a counterspell. Unlike a true counterspell, however, Dispel Magic may not work. You must make a Dispel check to counter the other spellcaster's spell. What is a Dispel? I think the Dispel check is that spellcraft check. But it is difficult to counterspell in Pathfinder, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're almost to the end. Hero points. Each level... Okay, so you have a bank of 3 hero points that you can use each level. It cannot exceed 3 hero points. So if you don't use a hero point, then you basically lose it once you level up. There is a sheet in the in our drive. In the reference documents, hero point cheat sheet. And it says the exact same thing that's right here. These are what you can use hero points on. I'll let you read those. So you can act out of turn. So it's treated as a readied action, moving your initiative to just before the currently acting creature. You may only take a move or a standard action, so you can't do a full round action. You can get a bonus. You can get a +8 luck bonus to any d20 roll before you make the roll. If you use it after the roll, who is dinging?
Sorry, that's me.
If you use it after the roll, the bonus is just +4. And you can use it to give somebody else a bonus. You can get an extra...
YouTube just keeps on going off.
Huh?
YouTube just keeps on updating on my phone every goddamn minute, apparently.
You can use it for inspiration. You can use it to recall a spell you've already cast or to gain another use of an ability. You can re-roll any d20 roll that you just made, but you have to take the results. You can avoid a critical hit. You can cheat death by spending 2 hero points. And then if there's something else, you can petition the GM. So.
So we get 3 points at when we level up.
Yep.
We have a bank of 3 points per level, and if we don't use them, we lose them. Is there any ways to get these during the level? Like if we
Nope. You get 3.
Is this like a reward? Yeah, but like let's say if I use 1 or 2, is there something like a reward system that we might get
Nope.
hero points during the level? Okay, so it's only level ups.
Nope. Yep.
Okay.
I may give stars, like Dougie. Dougie would give us stars. You'll see here on my, I have on my sheet here, I have 10 gold stars, 2 silver stars, and a platinum star.
Okay.
I may or may not do that. That was like, hey, good job. You get a gold star.
Okay.
And you literally get a gold star that you can use for things later. So a quick thing about magic items. No magic items that affect hero points, and no magic items that affect stats. We'll talk about that in a second. Alright. We can cover this now or wait, but there are sheets in the drive that talk about character creation and leveling up. So character creator reference in house rules. That is not the right sheet. So, here are some house rules and a little bit more information. So, this is Doug's house rules character creator helper sheet of great goodness that we are using. So, we will be using hero points. We will be using critical hit and fumble cards, the point by feat system, custom consolidated skills, and custom automatic bonus progression, which we haven't covered yet. So, with the custom automatic bonus progression system, which that sheet is also in the Google Drive, I think. Or not. Sorry. Oh, apparently it was. Oh, I already downloaded. Okay, so automatic bonus progression. What this is going to do, it's going to eliminate the need to purchase magic items to increase abilities. So you can use your gold on other items that might be more useful. So you're not like, oh, I need to get a headband of intelligence to increase my intelligence by 2. Instead, we have in this system, items do not exist which provide enhancement bonuses to abilities, armor, weapons, or saving throws. Deflection bonuses and resistance bonuses for magic items are also eliminated. So this effectively removes rings of protection, cloaks of resistance, amulets of natural armor, belts which increase physical stats, and headbands that boost mental scores. Instead, you'll receive an automatic bonus upon reaching certain levels. The wealth by level is halved to balance out the gain of power from automatic bonus progressions. So, at second level, you would be able to get a +1 armor and a +1 resistance. So what these mean is down here. Oh, that's what my bonus was on my character sheet. That 4. So, armor and resistance. So,
There's still. Oh.
in this system, magic weapons, armor, and shields never have enhancement bonuses of their own. Those bonuses are granted only through attunement. Adding bonus equivalent special abilities to items costs significantly less because you are paying only for the special ability, not for a base enhancement bonus. So this gets really confusing, and I need to go over it again because
That I understand this actually. You can make magical items that have a fixed +1 to 5 bonus, or they can have something special effects on them, like Bane or
this is
like
in the
elemental
Unchained.
damage, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
this is in the Unchained book.
So I think what you're doing is you're taking out the part of the fixed +1 because that comes automatically based on the level.
Yes.
Or
So the
plus
cost
whatever it
is reduced.
By that
So
much.
so a +1 would be 2,000 for this weapon. So a flame tongue is normally worth 20,715, but it would lose the +1. So you would subtract 2,000 from the price, and it would be 18,715. And it wouldn't be a +1 weapon, but it would still have the flame ability.
Yeah. And it would be plus whatever your level gives you
Right.
as a weapon bonus. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, at third level you gain a weapon +1. So if you are attuned to that weapon, you can change that attunement once per day. Then you would get a +1 to that. So if we look at Delstria here, Delstria, see I have my attunement listed here, a +3 attunement to my shocking seeking short bow. I had an amazing bow.
Yeah.
and I had some amazing scatterlight. Whoops, I misspelled scatterlight. Typoed that. So yeah, my weapon, my bow here got a little crazy with the damages.
Just out of curiosity, if somebody focuses on 2-weapon fighting, would you allow them to have the bonus for both weapons? Because that's sort of, I mean, if you build your character based on the idea of 2-weapon fighting, and you can only have one magical weapon, then you sort of get limited in that extent.
I think I'm gonna, at the moment, my initial response is gonna be no. You can only attune to one of them. If you have two long swords and you have one in each hand, only one of them will have the attunement bonus.
Okay.
That's my current thought on that.
Yeah, I mean, just wondering if somebody's planning a 2-weapon build, because that might be sort of good to know in advance. But yeah.
Yeah, so like here or one side of a 2-bladed weapon. So I'm gonna rule that also the same as with dual wielding, that only one weapon is attuned. So you just wouldn't have the attunement bonus to that weapon.
Yeah. but you can still make it magical other ways, right?
Yes.
Would you allow
Well,
it?
no.
I mean, not +1 magical, but you can have these banes and flame
Yes,
damages and
yes,
stuff like
yes.
those. You could have it.
Yes.
Would you allow it that if I made a 2-weapon fighting character and I would be on level 7, so I would have +2 for the weapon? Could I split it so that both of them are +1?
I think I would allow that.
Yeah, just mapping all the options here.
Yeah,
I mean,
if your
that
build,
seems sort of balanced.
yeah,
If you-
if your build is centered around being like a dual wielder, I would allow that. I think. So, so in addition to that, here on our house rules, that is the automatic bonus progression. And then additional house rules. Monster lore checks are supplemental sheets, which I do not have, but I will make it up in my head whenever if you're like, oh, have I seen this creature before? Do I know anything about it? I'll have a number in my head that you'll need to roll to make for how much info you get about the creature. On all d20 rolls, 1 is always a failure, 20 is always a success. Drawing a weapon requires a move action. See the quick draw feat to overcome this. I mentioned that earlier. I mentioned earlier also critical fumbles only apply to attacks at the highest attack bonus. So here, like for example, if you're a barbarian, when your base attack bonus reaches 6, you get a second attack. So that may be different for different classes. So here, when the barbarian hit level 6, the barbarian gets 2 attacks, and the first attack has a +6, the second attack has a +1. So if you roll a natural 1 on your second attack, it's just going to be a regular miss. So base attack bonuses are just what it says, a base attack bonus. It's just the base number applied to your attack rolls. It is. So some things are going to change as well. Holding breath is constitution number of rounds instead of 2 times constitution. A coup de grace will result in maximum damage at critical multiplier without a fortitude save or die. So there is something called running in Pathfinder, but we do not allow that. And you cannot charge or pounce if you are staggered. Possessions are held by the person with them on their sheet. If you do not have it on your sheet, you do not have it. Enhancement bonuses do not allow for bypassing of damage. Damage resistance, I believe DR is what damage resistance. No matter how high the bonus. So spell durations are going to be different. If a spell is listed at 1 minute per level, that's going to be changed to 1 combat plus 1 combat per 3 caster levels, or 1 hour, whichever is shorter. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So 1 minute per level means. Yeah, I will have questions about this, but 1 minute per level basically lasts whole combat, plus more if you have more levels, but if you or more combats. But how about if you have? There are some spells which have a duration of 1 minute per level, but you have to split it with multiple people. Most of the communal spells seem to fall under this category. I know because I use them in the.
Yeah, so I think something like breathe underwater or air bubble or something. I think is one of those spells. Let me.
If you look for cleric spells, you can find some communal They
Yeah.
have a name.
I just know that
Something.
we used air bubble quite a bit in our last campaign. Yeah, 1 minute per level. So
Yeah, but that's for
it's
one creature.
yeah, well, whatever. It applies to all creatures. So if you cast something that is 1 minute per level and you can affect other three
People.
other people in your party, for all of you, it will last for 1 combat plus 1 combat for every 3 levels. So if
Okay.
you are a 3rd level caster, then it would last for 2 combats or 1 hour, whichever is less.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even if it has this, that you have to split the duration between the people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it would still, yeah. It just dawned on me. I remember what you're saying now. Let me see, cleric. So if you give somebody a spell, if a
There's like
spell is able to be cast for like 4 minutes or something,
and you have to split it among the people who have it.
yeah, then it would be, so if it is being divided out to 1 minute per level, then it would be 1 combat.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to remember.
There's second level communal. There's a lot of communal spells on second and third level. So if you go a little there is I think. No, wait. Right, they are not, of course, in here. Look for protection from evil. That's actually one that has it.
So sometimes what they'll do here for the mass.
Yeah.
So you'll have your spell, and then it'll have the mass below it here. So like a 6th level.
Yeah.
But
that doesn't have. Can you check the protection from evil? That I know that has it because that's the one I used in the first level.
Communal?
Oh, there. Yeah, that one, actually. Protection from evil. Communal. If you look the lower one, that has the communal one. So it's basically...
You divide the duration in 1 minute intervals among creatures touched. So...
yeah, so it would be... it's a second level spell, so if I'm a 3rd level character, I would have it for 3 minutes, but if I cast it on 3 different people, then it's 1 minute each.
Yeah, so that would last for 1 combat for each of them.
Yeah. It boosts this spell quite a lot, I can tell you that. Well, not really. 10 rounds of combat is not that much. So.
Yeah.
You usually get things done by 10 rounds.
Usually. So this changes that to where you can get more combats out of it also if you are a higher level caster.
Yeah, that's true. That's handy.
Hey guys, I gotta get going. I'll read through a bunch of this other stuff, and if there's anything like super important that you haven't said yet, let me just text it to me, okay?
So yeah, just real quick. So I'll put in our chat for this group some info on building the character, like how much gold you get to start with and whatnot once I figure that out. And then we can have individual calls throughout the next couple of weeks to work on building your characters. But you absolutely need to read that player's guide for Curse of the Crimson Throne first.
Gotcha.
Also, I would ask if you have ideas of what you're gonna play, please mention it in the chat so that
put them in the chat so you can coordinate. Yeah.
Yeah, so that everybody doesn't make one. And I'm also
so we have 4 fighters.
Yeah, 7 fighters and 1 thief. I mean, that party worked out. And a wizard.
7 fighters, 1 thief, and everyone's sword came up missing for some reason.
I wonder how that happened. And we'll also be, so again, the next session I may or may not be playing, or I may or may not be available because I may have to travel. But even if I'm available only just for a couple of hours, we can start working on putting things into Roll20. Maybe a little bit different. There are no death saving throws. Basically, what happens if you die when you hit 0, you are unconscious, and near death. If you hit a negative, so if you have to make a DC 10 Constitution check to become stable. If you fail that check, you lose a hit point. I mean, so it's kind of a death save. But if you hit a negative hit point equal to your Constitution, then you're dead. So if your Constitution score is 12, if you hit negative 12, you're dead. You can be stabilized to where you don't have to make a check, and you're just at 0.
Yeah. All right. Well, that all seems pretty interesting. So yeah, just I'll look at this SRD and I'll read the what's it called, the Crimson Throne thing.
The player's guide.
Yeah, it's only 20 pages, so I'll probably flip through that tonight. I have
There's
to
a
get
decent amount of pictures also, and
Yeah.
I mean it's not that.
I'll have a good day.
You too,
Yeah.
George.
Yeah, you do. See you.
Yeah, so I'll put in our group chat. Whoop, this is not the right one. I'll put in our chat some for traits. When you're creating your character, you can pick one trait of your own, and then we'll pick a trait that's specific to the campaign. So there are traits listed in the Curse of the Crimson Throne, which I'm starting to lose my voice. I haven't talked this much in ages. I live alone, so I don't. So you'll be picking a background trait from one of the traits, and this gives a reason for the characters to come together.
Yeah.
So that'll be chosen whenever we're making your character. So, yeah. I haven't even looked at the adventure path because I've been busy working on this stuff and with just life. So I need to read the adventure path and I need to work on getting things set up in Roll20 so that we can start getting the characters in there.
Do you want a brief crash course on the DMing stuff on Roll20?
That would be awesome. That would make it a lot quicker and easier on me.
I'm happy to help. I mean, if you want, I can show you some of the basics right now. If you have time.
Yeah, I'm available now for that.
Yep.
Izumi, do you have any questions before we?
Not really, no.
Okay. Yeah, it looks a little overwhelming at first for some of the characters, classes, but once you start making your character and start focusing on just your character and what they're able to do, it isn't too bad.
I would recommend.